learners, and welcome to SEA Time, where we help you prepare for SEA from the comfort of your home. My name is Miss Pilgrim, and today is all about Section 1 of the ELA exam. But before we get to today's session, we want to encourage you to visit the Ministry of Education School Learning Management System at learn.moe.gov.tt, where you can find activities and lessons to help you prepare for SEA. So let's get started talking about Section 1 of the ELA exam. You've been practicing for a long time now, students, and you know by now that there are 3 tasks in this section. You know that there is spelling for 12 marks, 1 mark for finding the error, and 1 mark for actually writing the correct thing. You also know that for punctuation, you have to fix some errors in capitalization as well as punctuation. And finally, in task 3, for 12 marks, you must find the grammatical error and fix it. So we're going to go straight into the spelling. Always read your instructions. Remember that there is only 1 error per line. Remember that a line is not the same thing as a sentence. Circle the error, that's number 3. And number 4, remember to write the correct form of the word in the box provided. So spelling detectives, let's get ready to read this passage. We want to read it twice to get a sense of the passage. Let's go. Many foreign diplomats were present from the beginning of the business conference. Special arrangements for accommodation were made for all government ministers and officials in attendance. The diverse achievements of every country were vividly illustrated in the impressive presentations. Let's do that again. Many foreign diplomats were present from the beginning of the business conference. Special arrangements for accommodation were made for all government ministers and officials in attendance. The diverse achievements of every country were vividly illustrated in the impressive presentations. I think some of my spelling detectives already have found some of the errors, but we're going to examine the errors one by one. Let's get into it. Number 1, many foreign diplomats were present from the. Many foreign diplomats were present from the. Look at each word carefully and find the one that you know is spelled correctly. Find the words that you know are spelled correctly. So you know the words many. I'm sure you know the word were. You know the words from and the. So we have some more. Let's examine the remaining words. Let's look at the word foreign, diplomats, and present. Present. Okay, that's correct. Diplomats, that's also correct. What about foreign? Is this correct? What's the rule? I-E-E-I? Aha, that's the error. Foreign is the error. So let's get to it. Many foreign diplomats were present from the. What's the rule? Giving you 5 seconds to see if you can figure out the rule that governs the spelling of this word. Time's up. The rule, of course, is I before E except after C. You've known this rule, but there are some exceptions. There are always exceptions when it comes to spelling in English. So, I before E except after C, and also except when your foreign neighbor Lay takes a leisurely ride on her beige sleigh. Let's go a little bit more deeply into that rule. The EI combination can occur after C. You know this. This combination can occur after C when the EI sounds like E, as in seen. That's why conceive is spelled the way it is. That's why perceive is spelled the way it is. And that's why receive is spelled the way it is. Now the EI combination also occurs after other consonants, Look at neighbor. Look at slay. And of course, look at foreign. So foreign is one of those words where the EI combination has to be used. And so the error is how it's spelled there, and the correct spelling of foreign is F-O-R-E-I-G-N. Let's find the other errors. Number 2, beginning of the business conference special. Beginning of the business conference special. What word is spelled incorrectly here? Beginning. You're correct. Absolutely correct. But what's the rule, spelling detectives? Let's see if we can figure out. Is there a rule that will help you to remember, or do you have to think of a way to help you to remember to spell this word? 5 seconds. Think of your rule or think of a way to help you to remember the spelling of beginning. Time's up. Double the last letter of words ending in a short vowel followed by a single consonant. That's long and it sounds all confusing, but if you really look at it, it's very simple. Look at the word begin. The I in begin there sounds like eh. It's a short vowel, begin. So if you want to add a suffix to begin, we must double the N. Begin. Without that double N, the word will be beguiling. We don't want beguiling, we want beginning. Okay, so we have to double that consonant. Beginning. So other examples, grinning, pinning, and winning. And that's why we have to double the consonant. So remember, if the consonant sound eh, if it sounds like eh, we must double the consonant. So let's continue. You got that correct. Let's go on to the third word, the third line. Arrangements for accommodation were made for all. Arrangements for accommodation were made for all. Spelling detectives, can you figure out which one is the incorrectly spelled word? Look at it carefully. It's accommodation. But what is the rule? Is there a rule that will help us to remember to spell the word accommodation? 5 seconds, think about it. How can we remember how to spell this word accommodation? Accommodation is a frequently misspelled word. Okay? So in order to help me to remember how to spell it, I noticed that there are 2 C's and 2 M's in accommodation. And when I see that, I'm thinking about a garage. The garage that can accommodate 2 cars, beginning with C, and 2 motorcycles, beginning with M. And so we have the garage can accommodate 2 cars and 2 motorcycles. Remember your 2 C's and your 2 M's. Hope that helps you to remember how to spell accommodation. You're going on, you're doing extremely well. Detectives, we're going to move on to number 4. Number 4, government ministers and officials in attendance. Government ministers and officials in attendance. Which word is spelled incorrectly in this sentence? Government ministers and officials in attendance. If you said government, then you are absolutely correct. Brilliant work, students. But what is the rule? Is there a rule to help us to remember how to spell government? 5 seconds while you think about it. Let's go. This word is a frequently misspelled word as well. To help us to remember to spell this word government, even though you say I'm saying government, the root word is govern with the N. We must not forget our N. We want to add our suffix ment, but we must not forget our N. Government. So even though you were saying government, the root word is govern. Don't forget that N in government. Keep it up. You're doing so well. We're almost done. We are at number 5. Let's continue spelling detectives. The diverse achievements of every country were. The diverse achievements of every country were. Which word spelling detectives? Which word is spelled incorrectly? You are brilliant. It's achievements. That's the incorrectly spelled word. What's the rule? What's the rule, brilliant spelling detectives? 5 seconds. What's the rule? To help us to remember the spelling of the word achievements. It's also a frequently misspelled word. All you need to remember is to keep the final E when the suffix ends in a consonant. So the root word is achieve, we're simply adding the ment. We're not leaving out E. So achieve plus ment, achievement. Don't forget that E. There are some exceptions. You know, spelling sometimes can be tricky. There are some exceptions to that rule. So argumentative, the E is gone. Duly is an exception, and also truly. Those are some exceptions. But when it comes to achievement, don't forget that E in achievement. Brilliant work. And we're at the final item, number 6. Let's get to it. Vividly illustrated in the impressive presentations. Vividly illustrated in the impressive presentations. What is spelled incorrectly in this line? Presentations. That's the incorrectly spelled word. What is the rule? 5 seconds. Think about it. What is the rule? How can we remember how to spell this word? It's also a frequently misspelled word. Let's see if we can find a way to help us to remember to spell it. Usually, we add the suffix ation to the base word. So we have presentation. So present and ation, presentation. So other examples, experimentation and instrumentation and representation. So don't forget to add your ation to your base word. You're doing so well, spelling detectives. Let's read the entire thing and make sure we've spelled everything, because we want to get all our marks. Many foreign, F-O-R-E-I-G-N, diplomats were present from the beginning of the business conference. Beginning, don't forget that extra N there. Arrangements for accommodation, don't forget our 2 C's and our 2 M's. Government, don't forget that N. Achievements, don't forget that E. Presentations, don't forget your ation to the present. It's time for spelling bee. Are you excited? Let me get my card and I'll be right back so that we can do our spelling bee. And we're going to get into our spelling bee. Are you ready? Spelling detectives. Spell foreign. Spell foreign. Detectives. Spell beginning. Spell beginning. Spelling detectives. Spell accommodation. Accommodation. Number 4, government. Spell government. We're at number 5, achievement. Spell achievement, spelling detectives. And finally, spell presentation. Spell presentation. Take a minute, check your work, and let's see if you got them all correct. How did you do? Foreign. What's the rule? The EI combination appears in foreign. F-O-R-E-I-G-N. Number 2, beginning. We're doubling the final consonant. We don't want beginning, we want beginning. B-E-G-I-N-N-I-N-G. Number 3, accommodation. Don't forget our 2 C's and 2 M's. Number 4, government. Don't forget that N is there in government. Achievement. We're keeping the final E when the suffix ends with a consonant. So we're noting the exceptions, but we're keeping that final E. And finally, presentations. Addation to the base word. You have done exceptionally well, students. Wonderful work. Give yourselves a round of applause. You have completed task 1. Are you ready for task 2? Stay tuned. Welcome back, students. You've completed task 1. It's on to task 2, punctuation and capitalization. I want to remind you that for the ELA SE exam, we're only testing these punctuation marks. We're testing the full stop, exclamation mark, and question mark, the end marks, those 3 we're testing. We're testing the pause marks, just the comma and the colon, just those 2 we're testing. And finally, the other marks, your apostrophe, and your quotation marks. Those are the only marks we're testing for SEA. So don't put any other marks when you're trying to complete this task. Remember that in this task, you are inserting the correct mark or letter. Right? Don't try to write to the end. Write it exactly in the passage. When you are completing task 2, remember to read the passage twice, check for overall punctuation. Remember that although there is 1 error per line, you may need to read the entire sentence to get a sense of where the punctuation mark must go. And you may find it helpful to read the sentence before and after the line to get a gist of what you need in terms of punctuation or capitalization. Are you ready? Let's go to the passage. Mr. Khan, the zookeeper, has a very demanding job. He works at the popular Emperor Valley Zoo in Port of Spain. His tasks include looking after a range of animals: monkeys, lions, snakes, sea otters, alligators, and birds. Wow, doesn't Mr. Khan have an interesting career? Let's do that again. Mr. Khan, the zookeeper, has a very demanding job. He works at the popular Emperor Valley Zoo in Port of Spain. His tasks include looking after a range of animals: monkeys, lions, snakes, sea otters, alligators, and birds. Wow, doesn't Mr. Khan have an interesting career? So we've read it, and now we're going to examine number 7. Mr. Khan, the zookeeper, has a very demanding. Mr. Khan, the zookeeper, has a very demanding. So there's a missing punctuation mark right there. Notice that I pause. Which mark needs to go there? Is it a full stop? Is it an exclamation mark? Is it a comma? Or is it a colon? Take 5 seconds and figure out which punctuation mark is needed in this line. If you said comma, then you are absolutely correct. Mr. Khan, the zookeeper, has a very demanding, because there is an appositive in that sentence. And you know, an appositive is a word or word group that gives bonus information about the noun or noun phrase preceding it. So we use a comma to separate our positives. So Shaquille, my best friend, is an excellent musician. My best friend is that extra information about Shaquille. So we want to put a comma before and a comma after. So remember your commas in appositives. So we're going to examine number 8. We've already done number 7, the comma is there, and let's go to number 8, job. He works at the popular Emperor Valley Zoo. He works at the popular Emperor Valley Zoo. Have you ever been to the Emperor Valley Zoo? That's the name of the zoo. So what should we do here? Is it a matter of punctuation marks or is it a matter of capitalization? Let's think about it. We need to insert the capital E, the Emperor Valley Zoo. And that would make this line correct. Okay, we're going to examine number 9. In Port of Spain, his tasks include looking after. We know already that we need a full stop there because there's a capital letter by H. So I'm not even going to give you a timer. We're going to celebrate that you know that a full stop goes there because a capital letter comes after. Good job, students. Let's move on to number 10. We're reading some of line 9 and some of line 10 to get a gist of what punctuation mark is needed. So we have from line 9, in Port of Spain, his tasks include looking after a range of animals, monkeys, lions, snakes, sea. So we have a missing punctuation mark after animals. What mark do you think we need to insert there? Is it a full stop? Is it an exclamation mark, a comma, or a colon? 5 seconds, PC detectives. What mark do we need? If you said colon, correct, 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 correct. Congratulations. The colon is needed there. We're moving on to the next item, number 11. Otters, alligators, and birds. Wow, doesn't Mr. Wow. We notice that wow precedes a word that begins with a capital letter. So we need a mark there. Doesn't. So we need a mark to separate the wow from the doesn't. Is it a full stop? Is it an exclamation mark, a comma, or a colon? What mark goes there? Wow, doesn't Mr. If you said exclamation mark, you are correct. Hooray! That's an example of an interjection. Hooray! Wow! Yay! All of those are interjections and they require exclamation marks because they are expressions of heightened excitement. So wow! Doesn't Mr. You're doing so well, students. It's an interjection. So let's move on. Doesn't Mr. Khan have an interesting career? Doesn't Mr. Khan have an interesting career? What mark do we need there? Full stop? Exclamation mark? Question mark? Comma? You're brilliant. You know a question mark is needed there. We don't even have to have a timer. We're just going to celebrate that you know that a question mark goes at the end. So if we look at the entire passage, Mr. Khan, the zookeeper, has a very demanding job. He works at the popular Emperor Valley Zoo in Port of Spain. His tasks include looking after a range of animals, monkeys, lions, snakes, sea otters, alligators, and birds. Wow, doesn't Mr. Khan have an interesting career? Wow, students, we have gotten to task 2, the end of task 2, and we're going to do a final task. We're almost ready to complete this. You're doing so well. Crack your knuckles, stretch a little bit, and let's get on to task 3. Get ready for the next segment. We're almost at the end of section 1, students. We're at task 3, the grammar section. Remember, a line is not the same as a sentence, and remember, we're circling our errors. Helpful tips. Remember, we want to try to read the entire passage twice. We want to check for overall verb tense, And even though there's an error per line, you may need to read each sentence to get a sense of the grammar error. And you may also find it helpful to read the sentence before and after the line that you're examining. Grammar detectives, it's time to read the passage. Read with me. I was standing beside a bountifully laden mango tree when I noticed a flock of birds were flying towards me. Frightened, I ran quick and hid against a tree trunk. Suddenly, a gust of wind caused a branch that was heavily laden to drop fruits like decorate on the ground. That sounds kind of funny. I'm going to read it again. I was standing beside a bountifully laden mango tree when I noticed a flock of birds were flying towards me. Frightened, I ran quick and hid against the tree trunk. Suddenly, a gust of wind caught a branch what was heavily laden to drop fruits like decorate on the ground. Whew, we have some issues with this passage. Let's see if we can fix the grammatical errors. First of all, we're going to look at the overall tense. If we look at the verbs, we've realized that it mostly uses the past tense. So we need to remember that for when we continue for the different items. So grammar detectives, we're going to examine this passage. We're going to get to number 13. I was standing beside an amazingly laden. I was standing beside an amazingly laden. What's the error in this sentence? If you said besides, then you are correct. Do we use besides or beside? How do we know which one to use? Let's choose our prepositions wisely. Let's talk about beside and besides. Beside is used when we want to talk about the location of something. So Vincent is standing beside the desk. So his location is beside the desk. Besides with the S is used in addition to. It means in addition to or moreover. What are your hobbies besides football? So what are your hobbies in addition to football? I don't like this dress. Besides, it's too expensive. Besides, I don't like this dress. Moreover, it's too expensive. So when you want to use beside, you're thinking location. When you want to use besides, you're thinking about in addition to or moreover. Let's test ourselves. Are we going to use in these few sentences beside or besides? Who is sitting beside or besides you in this photo? Who is sitting beside or besides you in this photo? What do you think? Beside. That's correct. You are so brilliant because it means next to. Let's try another one. Do you read anything beside or besides comic books? Do you read anything beside or besides comic books? Which one should we use? Besides, in addition to comic books. What else do you read? You're doing so well. You're so brilliant. Let's go on to number 3. They live in a lovely house beside or besides the ocean. They live in a lovely house beside or besides. Beside, of course, because it's next to. Location. Finally, number 4. It's too late to go out. Beside or besides. It's about to rain. It's too late to go out. Beside or besides. It's about to rain. Besides. It's about to rain. Moreover, it's about to rain. You are so brilliant. You got all right, I hope. Take a minute, review them, and remember when to use beside and besides. So we have item 3 taken care of. We're going on to number 14. Mango tree when I noticed a flock of birds were. A flock of birds were. What's the error? You know this. A flock of birds were. we know that's a collective noun. And generally, with collective nouns, we need a singular verb. In this case, we want the verb was. A flock of birds was, not were. We're moving quickly on to the next item. Number 15. Flock of birds was flying towards me. Frightened, I ran quick and. Frightened, I ran quick and. What's the error? Frightened, I ran quick and. Quick. Is that the correct word there? I ran. How did I run? I ran quickly. We need an adverb to tell people how I ran. So most adverbs, not all of them, and most of them end with ly. So I ran quickly. I ran quickly. You're doing so well. We're almost done, students. Almost done. I'm so excited. You're doing very well. We're getting all our marks in the grammar section. Let's move on to the next item. Number 16. Flying towards me. Frightened, I ran quickly and hide against the tree trunk. Frightened, I ran quickly and hide. The preceding sentence, there was a past tense verb. I ran quickly and hide against the tree trunk. So, what do we need to do with this verb? The passage is written in the past tense, remember? And so the verb hide needs to be in the past tense. Hid. Frightened, I ran quickly and hid against the tree trunk. Frightened, I ran quickly and hid against the tree trunk. Fabulous. We're going on to the next item. I'm excited. We're doing well. We're getting all our marks. Suddenly, a gust of wind caused a branch what was heavily laden to. Suddenly, a gust of wind caused a branch what was heavily laden to. I'm hesitating there because I'm wondering about that what. Something is wrong with that. Suddenly, a gust of wind caused a branch what was. This pronoun isn't correct. What do I need? Caused a branch that or which? Suddenly, a gust of wind caused a branch that was heavily laden, or which was heavily laden. So that's the issue there. And finally, the number 18. Suddenly, a gust of wind caused a branch, that's now that or which, was heavily laden to drop fruits like decorate on the ground. Like decorate on the ground. That's kind of odd. Like decorate on the ground? I need a noun there. That verb isn't correct. They're like decorate. I need a noun. So how do I change decorate to a noun? I'm going to add the suffix ion. Like decorations, because it's plural, fruits like decorations on the ground. Like decorations. And here we have our entire passage. Let's read it together and make sure we have everything, because we want to get all our marks. We're getting 1 mark for identifying the incorrect thing and 1 mark for writing the correct thing. So let's go. I was standing beside a bountifully laden mango tree when I noticed a flock of birds was flying towards me. Frightened, I ran quickly and hid against the tree trunk. Suddenly, a gust of wind caused a branch that or which was heavily laden to drop fruits like decorations on the ground. And it's reading more fluidly. We think it's more interesting there because the grammatical errors are fixed. You have done so well, students. Congratulations, students. You have done so well. You have completed task 3 and you have completed section 1 of the ELA SEA exam. Congratulations, you've done so well. So we're going to come back another time with another section 1, but in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your time viewing TTT. Thank you so much.